Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating thought experiment, one that completely reframes what it actually means to be a modern software engineer. You know, if you've been in the tech industry for a while, you can feel that the ground beneath our feet is shifting. And it's shifting fast. We are rapidly moving away from an era of just putting our heads down and writing code into this wild new era of supervising AI that basically writes the code for us. It's a huge transition. And to really navigate it, we kind of need to take a step back and totally flip our perspective.
So let's kick this off with a bit of a provocative question. Imagine for a second that you, an expert software engineer with years of hard-earned experience, had to relearn programming from absolute scratch today. What would you actually focus on? I mean, if you stripped away your ego, forgot all your favorite frameworks, and realized that manually typing out lines of code is no longer the bottleneck, what then? Adopting this beginner's mind is honestly the secret sauce to thriving right now. It forces us to look at the reality of modern development without all that baggage of how we used to do things.
And look, we aren't talking about some distant sci-fi future here. AI is fundamentally altering our profession today. Get this, 3/4 of Google's new code is already being written by AI agents, 75%. To put that into perspective, that means the vast majority of keystrokes happening over there are no longer human. If you were a beginner stepping into this environment right now, there's no way you'd view yourself primarily as a typist of code, right? Because, well, the machines have literally already taken over that specific physical task.
What this does is push us out of a traditional human-paced life cycle and into an entirely new paradigm. In the old days, development was human-led at every single phase, usually chunked into these weeks-long sprints. But this new agentic life cycle, it's a whole different beast. AI agents act autonomously to execute tasks, while we humans step back to validate and review. It's literally the difference between manually playing a solo instrument and stepping up to the podium to conduct a massive, hyper-fast orchestra. Looking at this through a beginner's lens, you quickly realize your value has shifted from generating output to validating logic.
Section 1. A beginner's mindset today. Unlearning the old fundamentals. To survive this massive shift, seasoned developers have to figure out what foundational skills actually matter now. And honestly, this quote from engineering leader David Sanchez hits the nail right on the head. Writing code was never the job. Delivering outcomes was. When we were beginners the first time around, it was so easy to confuse the tool, which is writing syntax, with the actual goal, which is solving business problems. But relearning the profession today, you instantly see that your real superpower is designing systems that deliver the right results, regardless of who or what is typing out the text. So if you were starting from scratch today, what's on your syllabus? Well, you'd need intense systems thinking to understand how all these moving parts connect. You'd absolutely need deep DevOps and platform literacy, because you're essentially building the operating system for your AI agents. Security fundamentals? Totally non-negotiable. And maybe most importantly, you need the ability to define crystal clear intent and exercise sharp critical judgment. These are the crucial skills that let you actually manage a digital workforce of AI coding assistants.
On the flip side, as a modern beginner, there's a whole list of things you just wouldn't waste your time on anymore. Memorizing exact syntax? Totally obsolete when your IDE just handles it instantly. Spending hours writing boilerplate code, doing manual project scaffolding, or grinding through rote refactoring? Nope, agents can do all of that in seconds, and frankly, they're often way more consistent at it. Now, letting go of those tasks can feel a little uncomfortable for a veteran engineer, but unlearning the urge to do everything manually is step one in massively scaling your impact.
Section 2. The AI Security Trap. The hidden costs of trusting machines.
Okay, pause. We gotta ground ourselves with a pretty jarring reality check here, because leaning entirely on AI without sharp critical thinking is a massive trap. Research actually shows that AI-generated code has a 2.7 times higher vulnerability density than human-written code. Let that sink in. 2.7 times. AI is optimizing for speed and statistical likelihood based on its training data. It definitely doesn't understand your company's unique threat models, compliance rules, or specific architecture. So, if you just blindly accept the AI's output like a naive beginner might, you are shipping vulnerabilities at a terrifying scale.
Let's break down exactly what goes wrong when we rely on blind trust. AI models love to generate insecure code patterns with unsafe defaults. They also have this nasty habit of hallucinating dependencies. Basically, they'll just invent a package name that doesn't even exist. If a bad actor registers that fake name, boom, you are wide open to a supply chain attack. They might also hard-code secrets they memorize from public training data. And because they lack context, they'll write code that works perfectly in a vacuum but completely breaks your specific architecture. So yeah, human oversight, it is more vital than ever.
And it gets crazier,
beyond just vulnerable code, there's this massive organizational threat called shadow AI. This is the vast, invisible landscape of ungoverned AI tools being used across a company. Right now, a shocking 81% of organizations have zero visibility into how AI is actually being used by their own developers. Engineers are out there connecting new models and pasting proprietary code into random external tools, and security teams have no clue. A modern engineer has to realize that securing the actual code generation process is now just as critical as securing the final app.
Section 3. From Coder to Orchestrator. Redefining your leverage.
So, with the syntax automated and the security risks glaringly obvious, the role of the modern engineer completely transforms. The ultimate takeaway here is that AI is a multiplier. If you apply our beginner's mind to this, you see that your worth is tied entirely to your engineering judgment. Multiply good judgment by the blistering speed of AI and you get extraordinary, world-class results. But multiply poor judgment, or just check out and let the AI run wild, and you get extraordinary problems that will absolutely cripple your systems. Your leverage isn't your typing speed anymore. It's your ability to review, validate, and course correct.
All of this builds up to the orchestrated multi-agent workflow. Think of this as the new software assembly line. First, a planning agent takes a ticket and breaks it all down. Then, a coding agent jumps in and writes the actual implementation files. Next, a testing agent immediately spins up and runs the test suites. And finally, a security agent scans everything for those nasty vulnerabilities we just talked about. As the human orchestrator, your job is to oversee this entire shebang. You set the initial intent, you review the pull requests, you check the test coverage, and you enforce architectural integrity across the board. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If you were to truly adopt a beginner's mind today, discarding your old habits and looking fresh at this incredibly powerful, autonomous new toolkit, are you ready to stop typing and start orchestrating? Because the software engineers who are really going to thrive in this next era, they won't be the ones who write the most code. They'll be the ones who design the smartest systems, ask the sharpest questions, and enforce the absolute highest standards. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope it helps you rethink how you build software in the AI era. See you next time.